What's going on there, Twitch and YouTube world? Welcome to post-patch December meta. With a lot of changes. And before I start this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to OTG devs. I personally think that this is the most responsive and quick to react team. And obviously, I do have some disagreements with certain things that currently exist in the game, but I believe that this is probably the best meta that we've ever got to experience. And I think today is a really great opportunity to kind of cover some builds with you because there's been some changes and some hot fixes to those changes to make things that much better. So, first things first, we're going to jump straight into it because I kind of want to keep this one a little short and sweet compared to some of the other videos based on feedback. So, thanks for those who gave that to me. And we're going to dive right into things. I am currently running this as my primary loadout. I think that the boom slang, after being probably the worst gun in the game, has now been accelerated to the best gun in the game. And it is going to require some drastic recoil control. Let's take a look at the build. Right now, we are personally running the heavy stock, the light grip, the boom slang flashlight, and the silencer to help out with some of that horizontal recoil. And as you can see, we got a nice recoil green bar down there at the bottom. And I have a feeling that you are going to see that this is one of the top weapons for you to use. The headshot multiplier is just out of control. And I think for the most part, whether you're on controller or whether you're on PC, it's a very stable gun to operate with. Once you get used to it, you're going to start seeing the bodies drop like crazy. Check this out. Definitely a key build. I like to pair this with the Kestrel currently. And with some changes that had happened with the 3X, man, I'll be honest, I'm not a fan. We had to start looking for other optic options. So taking a look at the Kestrel build, we switched to the 2.5 to 4X. I've been able to hit some pretty sick shots with this, but my biggest complaint is that we just don't have a very simple sight with a dot in the middle, anywhere from 2.5 to 4. Anything above 4 and up, you will start to get some of those sights that just kind of have a nice smooth circle in the middle, and I think that would actually have been a much better option. I just think it's really hard to aim with all of the sights, and that includes the 3X. Continuing on, we're running the Kestrel heavy stock, Kestrel light grip, and the enhanced compensator just to add to that range a little bit. But I honestly think that there's not a lot of variance in the range, so feel free to mix up maybe the basic compensator, or maybe throw in a silencer of some sort if you're struggling there with a little bit of the recoil from the gun. But this is my go-to, this is my number one uno numero right now, and I told y'all in the last video I've kind of left the proton behind, and I don't think you're really going to see any protons throughout today's section of loadouts. So I just want to kind of give everyone a heads up. Is the proton still good? The answer is definitely a yes. I just think with the kill time oftentimes and aim assist currently right now in the state that it's in, it's really hard to get those shots off before somebody can just beam you with a full clip, especially if they're right in front of you. Right now, you're seeing yourselves have to play a lot more cover and take a more passive approach to some of these engagements. We're going to move on to the bread and butter. Folks, recon is out of control. I hope the devs do address recon. I think the cooldown's a little bit too low right now, and it's causing folks to pretty much just run either one recon or double recon, and you're going to see wall hacks 24/7 no matter where you go. But the good news is we are able to run Ghost as the counter, and the only folks there are going to be able to put some pressure on you will be Paralyzer users, which honestly is pretty far and few in between. Leapers right now has skyrocketed to the top with the nerf to Roadrunners. However, I think it's important to note that they did hotfix Roadrunners today, and they are back. I don't know if they're better than Leapers right now, but the Roadrunners are certainly back in action, and honestly, they're one of the few limbs that are going to allow you to get out of really saucy fights and situations, especially when you're getting beamed by a boatload of controller players. I think Limb Accelerator is a really great option to make sure you can keep your recon drone even shorter and up as much as humanly possible. Same thing with Ghost, but feel free to swap this out with the Soldier. It works just as well, and having that extra ammo when you're swapping between Kestrel or back to your Boomslang is going to be really efficient, helping you land some kills. And that pretty much wraps up loadout number 1. Give it a spin, or take it out for a test drive rather, and I think you're going to find that this is one of the best or top builds in the game right now. Moving forward, we have another build here, and I actually swapped it out. I'm going to update this because I was just kind of doing some experimenting, but it is the Boomslang again. Same build as the last video, and the Flenser. The Flenser is insane right now. I think it's one of the best close range weapons to use. If they're close enough, you can handle it in 2 shots. If they're a little further away, 3 shots. And if they're trying to chase away from you, you're actually able to spam this a pretty reasonable distance due to the bullet spread being reduced and still finish off those kills. Now, you're probably wondering what I have on this thing, so let's go over it. We got the Flesner light stock, we got the Flesner heavy barrel, and the Flesner laser pointer. You could put on another attachment, but there's honestly just not a lot of value in a sight on the shotgun, nor is there a lot of value in any of the muzzle options, nor do they exist. So if you were to take a look at that, nothing. Okay, so this is why it's a 3-piece build, but I have promised you that this is going to be a go-to close quarters weapon, and you're going to see a lot of really great results coming out of it. That's wrapping up loadout number 2, ladies and gents. But before I do move on out of it, I want to make a special shout out to the new Christmas Crackhead Santa Edition Type 227. This thing is insane. One of the fastest fire rates in pistols right now. And I think it's going to be a really great alternative for those of you who are comfortable using the Tap 9. Or let's just call it what it is. A lot of us were having a lot of great success with the regular 227 and our initial drops, getting those early kills in the game. So take the Sleigh Baller out for a ride and enjoy the results. And as you can see, I did continue on with my core loadout right now. I just think Recon is a must with it being as busted as it is. Leapers as well, and Ghost to help counter Recons being all over the place. Limb Accelerated, keep those up at maximum time as much as possible. And that's going to wrap things up. Moving forward to, I think, honorable mention. I've been experimenting with it, but I think this is going to be for my controller players. Even though I might whine and gripe that aim assist is about 10% too much right now, I still want to help you out. And I think the Hawk is one of the best weapons in the game, just like the Boomslang, after being one of the crappiest weapons in the game. If you're using a controller, you're going to find that this thing is already a laser beam. However, that aim assist is really going to make it a laser beam. You have an 80-round mag to ensure that everything in front of you goes down. And I've had a lot of times where I've dropped in on just unexpected teams or groups and been able to take out 2 or 3 of them at a time. So let's take a closer look at what that consists of. I do have the 1.3 reflex sight. There's a lot of folks who would probably swap this out for the stock. I just don't see any benefits coming from the stock because it's already a laser. You don't really need any more recoil control. It's one of the straightest shooting weapons in the game. And I've added the lightweight barrel just to kind of help out with the recoil control and really boost up the mobility and handling. And then we have the enhanced compensator just to give us a smidge of range. You can kind of see that down there on the second stat. And of course, the light grip is pretty much the best attachment in the game for virtually any gun, as it gives you just a little bit more ability and, more importantly, handling, which is going to come in handy when you have something heavy like this specific weapon. Take it for a spin. You're going to find that it is absolutely a laser beam, and you're getting a lot of kills in return. I like to pair this with the Kestrel currently right now. Same build as we saw before. I'll just run that back one more time in case you're starting midway in the video. And then, of course, the 227 Sleigh Baller, I think, is hands down the best pistol in the game. And, of course, I'm rocking that Recon drone because who doesn't want some wall hacks? And then the Leapers are always going to be tried and true. And the Phosphor Fury is still really good. And I want to give a huge shout out to the devs because I think the way that they have nerfed the Phosphor has put it in the perfect place that it needs to be. If you do not charge this above 60%, you are not going to get that instant knock. You're just going to get some shield cracks or maybe get them down to almost near death. And be able to clean things up. Now, if you can get this fully charged, and you're ready to go, you will still be able to get that one hit knock. But as you can imagine, with recons all over the place, it's usually pretty easy to see it coming, or use your leapers or roadrunners to try and dodge that there. If you get stuck, may the force be with you. It's still a really great limb to keep on using in the for this particular loadout here, since I did kind of orient it a little bit more towards the console folks, I do think Ripper is beneficial for you, just having that extra sighting and getting to your target. I think PC right now has been running into a lot of issues with it just kind of missing or flying over their opponent or under their opponent. And I'm sure it's happening on console too, but I think for the most part, in my experience, a lot of these exchanges, they are winning with the Ripper. I can't tell you how many times I get a guy crack his shields, like he's flying in the air towards me. I crack his shields. He's one hit away from death, and chip chop, RIP. And that's just the way it goes. I like to roll with the soldier backpack on this particular setup. Just when you're bouncing between the hawk with 80 round drum and you need to switch to a quick snipe, getting back to a fully loaded hawk is like quintessential to keep you in the game and not get caught in a situation where you're stuck reloading. So that's loadout number 3, folks. As you can see, there's not a lot of variety here. I've really been enjoying the Kestrel. So let me kind of switch it up or spice it up for you, because I know there's been a lot more changes and a lot more buffs to some of these weapons. We're going to talk about that in the next loadout. Moving forward, I got the M4. Shout out to Public Sorrow, one of our top players there in the community. He's always really gracious and helping other players out. And I popped into his channel and said, "Hey man, what's working for you on this particular weapon?" And he hooked me up with the heavy stock, the M4 light grip, the drum mag, and of course the suppressor, just to kind of help out with some of that horizontal recoil, because the gun has a pretty decent chunk of it, whereas the vertical recoil is pretty easy to control. I think whether you're on console or whether you're on PC, this is kind of that middle ground, if you will. And you're going to see a lot of really positive results using this weapon. And I honestly would say it's kind of like a kite replacement right now. Is the kite still good? The answer is an absolute yes. But there's a lot of times now, because everyone's spamming roadrunners and leapers, where you're kind of having your opponent be able to get out of range of you, and that has kind of pushed SMGs into the lower tier of the meta right now, which I think is really healthy. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of playing these BRs where just SMGs are cracked like no tomorrow. So the M4 keeps 64 rounds in the mag, and you're going to see really great results with that. I think headshot multiplier is fantastic as well. So make sure you're aiming high, folks. You're going to see some good results. The Flenser back again. We'll repeat that just in case you're starting a little bit late in the video. And then, of course, the Type 227 Slay Baller. You're going to see it's pretty much my go-to pistol right now. I don't know if there's really anything better in the game currently. I got Roadrunners on this particular build, and I think any time that you're starting to stray away from using a ranged weapon setup, you want to go back to the Roadrunners. They did fix the bugs that were affecting them and kind of making them ineffective to use. But I will be honest, and I want to stress that I'm not against aim assist and I'm not against crossplay, but I will say it's too high. I know a lot of you've probably seen me in the Discord channel, bitching and moaning about it, but it's too strong. And when you're using something like the Roadrunners and you're moving around, it's very easy for them, if you don't have any form of cover, to just beam you down, and virtually from any distance as well. So hopefully that gets better. But if not, use the Roadrunners. They're still a really great, limb to add to your overall kit. I kind of left the limbs off this one because I like to grab this early and then switch over to my more long range loadouts. And the soldier backpack's going to help out. Switching between the M4 and the Flesner, got to make sure you're always loaded. Now, one thing I will also say is feel free to kind of mix up what you're doing with the M4. I think there's some really great attachments that you can swap out. Maybe the muzzle, for example, or maybe a sights. I know a lot of console folks are enjoying some of those sights currently, and I know majority of the PC guys are like, I'm not touching any of those sights. But take it for a spin. I think it's going to treat you great. Moving forward to my boomslang setup, I do want to kind of give a special mention to this one that is important for you to take into consideration. So shout out first off to our Pioneer players. I'll always be sad that I never got included in that program. I signed up in February, and I guess I just missed the emails asking me to sign up a second time. But the boom slang is gonna kick things off as my main primary. I really, again, I can't stress enough. I think it's the best gun in the game. It's really that good. But the Tacoma is huge, and if you are a Pioneer player, there is a Pioneer variant of it, and it does actually have a slightly faster fire rate than the rest of the other weapons. And you're gonna see some positive results from that. Um, and if you don't have this, feel free to go ahead and maybe kit your regular Tacoma. I'm running the heavy stock, the heavy grip, the drum mag, and the silencer for this overall build. I have swapped out the light grip for the heavy grip, and there's definitely a lot better ADS time and just overall maneuverability. But I personally have found that I'm taking fights a lot more calculated instead of just rushing in there. I don't really have to rely on having that fast or rapid ADS. But if you're going to use this as maybe like a sniper support, this is really great to pair with something like a Kestrel. I would switch to the light mag just so in that situation, maybe you get a crack, you can swap those weapons, be able to down your target as quickly as possible. If I were to rate most of the weapons that I gave you today, I'm gonna put the boom slang in S tier. I'm gonna put the hawk in A plus tier. I'm gonna put the M4 in S minus tier. It actually could fall into A, and the Tacoma is gonna be right there with it. I definitely think if you're a good shot, the Kestrel is definitely gonna stay in the S tier. It's just, snipers are a staple of this game. And I think it's important for a lot of folks to consider with the game in its current state to assume that maybe the devs aren't going to fix aim assist. Um, and you probably don't want to be taking fights as of aggressively as you probably were in the past. So using a ranged weapon is going to help you kind of calm down the aggression in your overall kit, and just play a little bit more calculated. So something to consider there, and of course, Recon Leapers Ghost. It's a must-have right now. And as I mentioned to you before, feel free to swap out either the Soldier Backpack or, of course, the Limix. They're both going to be really great options. It just depends. Do you want to have more weapon ammo, or do you want to have more data slash invisibility there on the map? That's a wrap there for loadout number 5. And as you can see, most of my other loadouts are just going to kind of consist of like, pistol only, backpack, gun only here. And this is just one of those like, hey, you know what? Do I miss the Proton? Yeah, I might like pick it up. So if you're curious what the Proton build is, I'm running light grip, drum mag, cooler, and the compensator. Moving forward from that, we got the kite. The kite is still a really good weapon. It went from S tier down to A minus tier. And again, it's really just because the game has evolved and become a lot longer in terms of range gameplay. So light stock, light grip, drum mag, and the compensator there for the kite. A lot of folks there like to run the heavy stock instead of the light stock. So there's a lot of variety that you can mix up with this weapon. And if you really are just in love with this gun, feel free to check out some of my other build videos from November and December, and I'm sure it's going to treat you kindly. It's a staple of the game. And one of the things I mentioned in my prior videos is I think it's one of the SMGs that we need to build the game around. It wasn't necessarily overpowered. It just had too much ammo. The devs did nerf the ammo by like 4 or 5 bullets, so now you got a 60 round on the kite drum mag, but this is why the M4 has kind of taken its spot because you never know, right? That last 4 bullets might be all that you need. Before we wrap things up, let's quickly go to our weapons really fast and just kind of see, is there anything else that we might have left out of the mix? Got the assault rifles. I think the Terracon right now, I've done a lot of testing. I'm going to be honest with you. If you're a PC player with an insanely cracked shot, I think the Terracon is super slept on. I don't have a build for you right now, but I encourage the community to start experimenting with this gun. I think aside from the M4, the rest of the weapons just have way too much recoil. I'm able to beam extremely long distances with the Terracon that I can't beam with any other AR in the game right now. And as you can see, the recoil control is fantastic. The fire rate's fantastic, but this handling is what really helps it stand out from the rest of the ARs. Check it out, use it. I think it's going to treat you right. And I'm curious if you find something awesome in terms of building the Terracon, throw it in the comment section. I'd like to learn a little bit more. SMGs, AZV fell off the map. Used to be one of my favorites. I just don't think it's that great anymore, especially with aim assist in the game. Everyone's going to beat you to the punch. You don't have time for a burst fire weapon. I do think the devs need to buff that. Tacoma, we've already talked about that. If you can, use that Pioneer version. Otherwise, check out that build and it's going to treat you right. Kite's still in a great place, just not top tier meta anymore. And the Woodpecker is absolutely cracked. If you were to take this into the firing range before they decided to remove the damage numbers, it's 39 per hit. That's insane, especially if it's a headshot. You start to get that multiplier kicking in, and you're really going to be able to frag out. The Coochie, aka the Kochi, is a fantastic weapon. Problem is most folks don't have it yet. Can you get it in hexes? Yes, but I haven't found a single player in the entire community that has been able to land one of these quite yet. I'd like to do a little bit more experimentation, but stay tuned. I've been opening hexes like crazy. Fingers crossed we get one soon. Shotguns, Squall, don't use it. I mean, it's always going to be good because you can kind of just mindlessly spam shots, but right now the Flenser is just 8 times better. It's a no-brainer. Use that one. Squall, we'll get back to you next patch. LMG, Hawk, Boomslang, we've already covered these, so we're going to move forward. And we've already covered the Proton, so let's talk about the Ichnya. Ichnya, I kind of called it out in my last video. It's trash. It's still trash. It is a little bit better if you can get a lot more ammo inside of it, but just with the damage ratio to the amount of ammo that it takes, it's not worth using unless you're in a close range engagement. Use it like a shotgun, just start spamming shots like crazy, and I think you're going to have a lot of success. But would I go out of my way to make a build for this? Not likely. Last but not least, we have the Osprey and Kestrel family, and the Kestrel is, of course, my number one go-to. I haven't seen folks whatsoever using the Osprey. With that being said, I have completely abandoned even trying to do some testing with it. I might come back to it a little bit later. It's just not one of those top-tier guns in the game. With that being said, talk about the limbs. Me, I'm pretty biased right now. Recon, Recon, Recon. Recon Leaper's Ghost. Those are going to be your top-tier picks. If you're on controller, I still think Phosphor Fury and Ripper is going to be fantastic for you. If you're on PC, I do think Phosphor Fury and Ripper is going to be fantastic for you as well. I've just had a lot of issues personally with missing when I don't feel like I've actually missed. You're going to see what I'm talking about when you take it for a little bit more of a spin. The rest of the limbs, maybe Paralyzer, for example, is fantastic, especially in this current meta. There's going to be a lot of folks like me running Ghost. This is the only weapon in your arsenal to pull them out of that. I've seen some folks actually running Recon Paralyzer together. You'll be able to take that with you in the long haul. We got things like Slam Fist. It works. It's great. You can get some cool plays. Hookshot, still the most slept on limb in the entire game. Great mobility. It's fantastic to probably pair with Roadrunners. Kinetic Shield, don't use it. Javelina, oh man, honorable mention here to Javelina. They increase the fire rate or the speed of the rockets headed to their target. And if you need an easy shield crack, maybe you're flying in on somebody and you want to get a head start before you even land on them, Javelin is going to treat you right. And last but not least, trip mines. I really didn't want to promote this, but they're cracked. Right now, you can throw them like your Brett Favre 50 feet in the air. You could literally dive bomb somebody as if you're a jet bomber and just beep, 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 and blow them to smithereens. You're going to see people like Public Sorrow or some of the other Merc guys experimenting with this. So I encourage you to go check out some of his videos because, in my opinion, he plays it the best. Slugger, trash. Skunk Ball, they're all right. Use them to maybe just push people out of position or just cause some frustration with that tick damage to get people where you'd like to set up a shot. And with that being said, folks, I know I was hoping to cut it down, but I didn't want to leave anything out. That's a wrap for our December meta. Post-patch, post-hotfix. Till next time, folks. Peace, love, and happiness.